Yusman was on the call as well. So, Adeyemi, do you want to try? Or remind us what we did in our last class last week? Can we all hear me? Can somebody hear me? It's okay if you guys cannot remember. It's okay. Let me just know you are following me. Can we all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. I'm not the only one on the call. So let's just move on. So like I stated earlier that I'm sorry that I'm joining in late due to device issue. I didn't set the time on my system well, and that was why it didn't allow me to log into Teams. So I'm just going to open the file that we've been working on. I think it's this one. Okay, so why did we stopped at the having by clause, if I'm not mistaken. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, I can hear you. I
Okay.
did not answer. I said last week it was an interesting session, and we
Okay.
learned about how first to connect to Microsoft Server
Okay.
and how to create a database, then
Okay.
how to use the data manipulation language,
Yeah.
SQL, learned about how to select, how to filter, using the type, wildcards. We learned how to also query data for the database.
All right.
So
So
perhaps
thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much for that. Okay. I think we stopped at the having clause. And can someone remind us what this having clause is used for? What is used for? Anybody? Okay. Looks like maybe we didn't practice or.
All right.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Sorry. All right. The having clause is used for aggregating, sorting, and aggregate functions. Yeah.
Used for sorting. Can you hear me, Adeyemi? Hello, can you hear me?
yes, we can.
I
That
said,
was
what
not
did she say?
yes,
She said sorting. Used for
it's
sorting.
used. Yeah,
It is
having
used.
is used for sorting aggregate functions. That's what it said.
Okay, I would prefer used for filtering, not sorting. You use the other by keyword to sort your data. Filtering is the word.
Very well noted.
Okay, so good. Let's go on. I had to just plug in my system. All right, so we'll continue from there. I won't go over it, but it's just used to filter your the data or result you got using aggregate function, either count, sum, max, mean, average. You can see here how that we have to find select category, then count the number of products there, and once you are done, return product where the account is greater than 3. So we had to use having because where cannot go. You can't use where to filter out your aggregated result. So we'll continue from there. The first thing we'll look at after this having clause, we'll be looking at let's look at partition by. And what is this partition by used for? Partition by allows you to partition your data into smaller partitions, unlike group by function, whereby group by would group similar values together, then summarize the result. But partition by would get the result, then split it. Not split, you have the same result across all the records. What do I mean? So let's say what table are we working with now? Let me look at the table we're working with. I think let's look at the product table first. Products. Okay, let me just use partition by. Partition by. use products. Let me select all from customers and see. Select all from customers so we can look at the data that's there. So I'll run this. Okay. So let me check. Oh, F5. Okay, yes, we are currently in master. That's why it's just giving. So you have to go and select the database we are working on. So let's run this now and see. F5. Okay. So I'll change this from text to grid and run again. Okay, so we have this. Let's say I want to see all the customers. I also want to see their age. I also want to be able to compare their age to the average age of all the customers. So I'll use this and say, select the customer. Let me select the customer name, comma. Then I want to see the customer age, Then I want to see the average of the age, average of customer age, customer name, customer age, then the average of customer age over, then open my brackets, then I'll put partition by, let's say I want to partition it based on the gender. So partition by gender, the customer gender, Let me just close this as avg, or let me just put average age. So where is this data coming from? Don't forget that we're going to specify where it's coming from. It's coming from the customers table. So let's run this now and see. Select the customer name, customer age, average age over partition by the customer gender as the average age from customers. Let me run this now and see. F5. So what are we seeing now? You can see that we have the average age here. You can see we have the average age here, which is like the overall average age for everybody. So it's showing us that the average age, I can see here comparing this customer age to this average age. Oh, this person is above the average age for all the persons, all the customers. 45 above the average age. I get to compare the age of every of the customer, each and every one of them, based on the average age. So let's say I'm going to add this. I'm also want to view the gender. So I'll come here and add in the customer gender. Don't forget that it is in the select statement that you get to list out all the columns you want to see. Customer gender, comma. Then let me run this again. F5. So you get to see how that you are seeing all the females. It partitioned based on what we put here now. So because we didn't add this customer gender, that's why it's not showing us like this before. But now that we've added the customer gender, we can see that it sorted it, partitioned it based on the customer gender. So the first people you are seeing first are females, and what you are seeing now is, you notice we have 31 all three for the average age for all the females. Then you see we have 36 for all the males. Now, what did it do? What it did was to find the average age of all the females, because it had to partition it based on the gender. It found the average age of all the females. So now we can compare every of the females' age to the average age of all age for females alone. Then for male, it found the average age for all the males and partitioned it based on male. So now we can see all the average age. We can compare the age of all the males to the average age when you sum all the age for males together. That's one usefulness of the partition by. So the next thing I'm going to show us now is how to use the if and the case statement. You remember how we looked at the if logical function in Microsoft Excel? Can anybody remind us what we use that if logical function to do in Microsoft Excel? The if in Microsoft Excel. Anybody wants to remind us? Anybody? If you are saying something, you are muted. I don't want this class to be like this. I want it to be interactive. So please, let's say something so I'll know I'm not the only one in the class. And if you want me to continue that way without asking you, okay, all right.
Okay, we
All
use this
right.
to
Good
choose.
evening. Okay.
Okay,
Sorry, I wanted to say that the if function is a logical function
okay,
that is used to find a criteria or a condition if it is met or not.
okay, good. It's the if function is used when you have, or it allows you to return a value when a given condition or criteria is met, and also allows you to return a value if the condition is not met as well. So let's look at this. Let's look at the dim customer. Select all from dim customer. So the one we brought in, that's CSV file we brought in. So let's look at it. F5. So we have this dim customer now. I think Adeyemi, you were saying something around, you were asking how we can export this. Let's say we've cleaned a particular data, I want to export it out, how we can. So most times, actually, I don't
Yeah,
export
I
data.
have to.
Yes, I don't export
Yes, I
data.
have
What
to
I
do
do most
that.
of the time is to, yeah, I get that. What I do most of the time is to create a view, then I would connect it to my either my Power BI or my Microsoft Excel. But to do that, let's assume we've worked on this data now, and I want to save it, or I want to export it. You can just go to your tools first, then come to options, then go straight to your. Ademi, can you hear me? Unmute yourself. Sorry, mute yourself, please. Yes, thank you. You would go to your tools tab. When it pops up, go straight to your, now let me start again. Go to your tools tab, click on options, go straight to your query result. We are here in query result. So you can see the default currently is text to, leave it at result to grid. So let's go back. So I'll click on that drop down button beside query result, come here to SQL Server, and I'll come here to result to grid. Make sure that this include column headers when copying or saving the result is checked. So check it, and once I'm done, hit OK. So if I want to copy this result now, all I have to do is select anywhere on this results pane, right click, and you see save results as. Once I click on save results as, so it's going to tell us the result to be saved as a CSV file, actually. So I can rename this, give it a name I want, maybe result 3, then save it wherever I want it to be. I'll save it on my desktop, and I would hit save. So when I go back to, let's say I want to open that same file I just saved now. Let me go back to my, you can see we have here the result 3 that I just saved now. If I open it, once I open it, it's open in my Excel, and you can see the data here. So this is how you export data from SSMS. So let's just go back, close this now. I hope you got that, Adeyemi. All right, let's just continue. Just like how she explained how that with the if function, you can specify the result for if the criteria is met and if it's not met. So we have a table here that the one we brought in our last class, that's CSV file for dim customer. So let's say this total, remember this assignment I gave us when we did Microsoft Excel. I want to derive a new column named parent or not parent, where we use the total children column to get it. So if I'm saying if the children, or if the total children is greater than 0, categorize them under parent, otherwise not parent. So to use that, let's say I only want to see the first name, last name, then the total children, and to know if they're parent or not. So I'd come here and say, by using the if now, so I'd come here and say select what? I'll first select my first name, select first name, comma, last name, first name, comma, last name, comma, I want the total children as well, total children, total children, comma. Then I want to create another column to know those that are parent and those that are not parents. So I'll say if, and it's not the IF, it is IIF. So IIF, open my parenthesis. Then the first argument is the expression. What is the expression? So I'm saying if the total children is, let's say, if I'm saying if it's equal to 0, you can say equal to 0 first or greater than 0, which anyone you want to do, equal to 0. So what should happen? If it's equal to 0, comma, give it not parent. Comma, then what should be the result if the criteria is not met? Parent. And I'll close my parenthesis. Then I'll go straight to the next one. What I want to do, where you specify where that data is coming from the dim customer. Dim customer. Then I'm going to run this F5. So here you can see now that we have a column that contains the first name of the customer's last name, and based on the condition given, those ones that their children, total children is equal to 0, they were categorized as not parent. Then those that had any other value aside 0 were categorized under parent. So you notice something there, we don't have a column header. So how do we give it a column header? How do we give it a column header? We just alias it using AS as, then we say give this as not parent / parent. So let me, okay, now there's not parent, or let me just give it parent column, just parent. I'll run this now, F5. And now we have that this has been named from that no column name to parent. So what if you have multiple criteria? This is where the case statement comes in. This case statement as well evaluate an expression and return results for it. So let's say that I want to work with this. Let me run this dim customer again. I want to work with this annual income column. Any income that is greater than or equal to 150, categorize it under high income. Income greater than or equal to 100,000, categorize under high income. Income greater than or equal to 50, categorized under average. Then any other one categorized under low income. So I'd come here using the case statement, case. So I'd say, okay, select, what am I selecting? I'll select first name, last name. Then what else do I want to select? First name, last name. Then I want the annual income. Annual income. What else do I want? Comma. Because I want to categorize this annual income into very high, high, average, and low. So first name, last name, the annual income. Then I would use the case statement. I would say case. When, so someone is wondering how I got to this place. What I did was just press my tab button, and it shifted it to this point. When what? When the annual income is greater than or equal to 150, what should you do? Then what should be the result? The result should be very high. I'll move to the next one. The next one is that when the annual income is greater than or equal to 100, classify under high. So when annual income is greater than or equal to 100, then what should happen? Then you have to specify, you have to type in that there, because that's what will allow you to specify what the result should look like. Then let it be high. The next one is when what? When the annual income, you can just copy and paste it, but I just want to type it in. When the annual income is greater than or equal to 50,000, then what should happen? Classify it under average. So otherwise, anything that is below that, else, you can decide to add this else, or not. If you don't add this else block, if there's no criteria that does not meet these three criteria or condition you've given, it will return null. But if you specify what should the result should be if none of these criteria is met, would have a result. So I want it, if we don't have anyone that meets these three criteria, let it return low income. Low income. So I'll add it in like that. Very high, low. Let me just put low. So let me add low income, low. Now, this is not done until you add the end to show that you've ended what you're typing. So I end this now. I'm saying when the annual income is greater than or equal to 150, then categorize under very high. If the annual income is greater than or equal to 100, categorize under high. If it is greater than or equal to 50, categorize under average. So what you do it will start with the first one first. Anyone that meets the criteria, it's categorize them under very high. Then it moves to the next criteria. Anyone that meets it, categorize it under high. Then to the next one, anyone that meets categorized under average. Then anyone that does not meet the three criteria at all, categorize them under low. Remember I said if you don't specify for this one, it will return null. If you don't specify for the else block, it will return null. Then I have to end it. It's a must you end it. So what else do I want to do? I have to specify where it's coming from. It's coming from the dim customer. The dim customer. And I'll run this. So let's run this and see. F5. So you can see we have all these names here. This customer, their annual income, it has categorized them based on the income level. All right, so someone is saying, Okoyemi, you want to say something?
Yes,
Okoyemi,
ma.
can you?
I wanted to suggest that if we don't end it as something,
Yeah,
it will give us
I
no
wanted,
column name.
yes, it would. So we have to add the as. Yes, we would do that. So you'd see that we have a new column that has categorized all this annual income into a very high, average, and low. So anywhere you see low, you know the person is below 50. So then you can see we have no column name. So you have to give it a column name. And how do you do that? By aliasing it. So as what? Let me give this as income level. End as income level. Then I'll run it again, and that should add the name of the column to it, F5. So we have the income level here. So the next thing we'll be looking at now is joints. So anybody wants to share what he or she understand by joints, the joint statement or the joints clause? Anybody? Joints? Have you heard of joints before? I'm sure most of us we're not new to these things. We've done it. So anybody wants to share what he or she understand by joints? Anybody?
Okay, can I try?
Okay. Yeah, you can.
Thank you. The last time we were looking at Power Query, we took your
Yeah.
time to explain these joins as
Yeah.
a means of joining data from different columns or even different tables together. And
Yeah.
it is used to bring out some particular columns of a table that are needed for analysis, joining two tables or more together. For example, in this, maybe we need the name of these are customers or these are employees. We need their names in this dim customer table. Then we also need their offices or whatever they have purchased very well. We want
Yeah.
to import it using a primary key. You can use joins, and we have about four basic type of joins. There are more than that anyway. We have
Yeah.
the inner join, the left join, the right join, and
Full join.
the other one, the full join. Thank you very much.
Yeah. We still have more advanced concept, but we'll not touch those ones. Even though your head will scatter. We have the self join, the cross join, but we'll look at the left join, right join, inner join, and the full outer join. So let's look at. You remember how we treated, just as how Okoyemi explained how we treated merging of queries. There's something when it has to do with merging of queries. There has to be a common column between them that would bring both tables together. So first thing, I'm going to create a new table here. So I sent this to us already, the data to us already. So I would use that now to quickly create two tables that we'll use to look at these joins. So I would send, you have that on your Google Classroom already, so you don't have to bother. Come here and paste what I just copied now. So we have two tables. The first table here is for customer lookup. Then the second table is going to be, so let me just run all this now. F5, 5 rows affected. Same thing for this one. So you have to change this to at your end as well. I made a mistake. So I would run this now. For us. So I'm going to view these two tables I just added in. Select all from sales orders. Then select all from customer lookup. So let's view these two tables now. F5. So we have these two tables here. Remember I said that if you're going to merge queries together, that's for Power Query, there has to be a common column between them. So if I'm going to join two tables together, we have to have a common column that would link both of them together. And as you can see here that customer ID in the sales order, we also have customer ID here. So we have to join these two tables together so that I won't have to stress myself. I want to know who is this customer ID? What's the name of the customer? What is the email? What country is the person from? I won't have to stress myself. I can just see them on a straight table. So how do I do this? The first one I'm going to be looking at is the left join. And what does left join mean? Left join is you saying return everything on the left table, then merge it with anything that match from the right table. So I'm going to open that slide we used when we were looking at merging queries in Power Query. So that would make us understand better. So I'll bring that up. So yes, we'll start with left join. How that for left join this, return everything on the left table, then whatever matches it on the right table, merge it with it. Remember how that in the employee details table, we had all these department ID. And here we have this in the department details table. So if I'm saying return everything based on that customer ID and the employee details table, then anything that matches it, bring it in and merge them together. So you notice here in the employee details, we have 101, 102, there's 103, up to 104, 101, 102, 103, 104. But here in the department details, we only have 101, 102, 103, and 105. So if I'm saying return everything on the left table, it will return every record we have on this table. Then whatever matches it, which is just only 101, 102, and 103. And you see here that for 104, this person here does not have a record on the department details, but even at that, it returns everything on the left table and what matches it on the right table. So we'll go back now to this. So I'm saying select all from the sales orders. Then what am I going to do? Select all from sales orders, left join what? We want to join it with the customer lookup table. Left join customer lookup. Now you have to specify what and what. What is that column that link both of them together, which is the customer ID, right? So we'd say select all from customers, from the sales orders, left join the customer lookup on what? What are those two columns common to both? On the customer ID coming from the sales orders. So we say you have to specify the table sales orders dot customer ID equals the one coming from lookup, customer lookup dot customer ID. Customer lookup dot customer ID. Now let's look at this very well. So I'm saying select all from these sales orders, then left join it to the customer lookup. Then what is on what? What is that thing that you want to link them together? The customer ID coming from the sales orders, then the one coming from the customer lookup. Look at this table very well for sales orders. We have this customer ID here. We have 1214. That is 124. Then here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's run this now and see. Remember that left join will return everything on this orders table and made it to whatever match on this customer lookup table. So I'll run this now. And you see that it only returned everything on the left table, 1214, then only record that matches it from the right table. Then for right join is saying return everything that you have on your right table, then whatsoever matches it from the left table, combine it with it. So here you would see that it return every record that is on the right table, based on this customer, this department ID, 101, 102, 103, 105. You can't find 104 here that is on this table, because every the what we have to do is to use right join, combine the right table to whatever match on the left table. So I'll go back again now, and I'll copy this. Let me copy this again. Control C. Let me just give this left join. Come here and put it here. Left join. Then I'll just paste it. Control V. I'll give this right join. So the only thing I'll just change here now is just the left, from left to right. So I'll change this from left and I'll give this right. Right. Good. So let's run this now. Don't forget, if I run this again, don't forget looking at their IDs, the common IDs. So you see here on this right table, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it means it will return everything here and match it to whatever that match here. So now let's look at this. So I'll run this now. F5. So you can see how that it return everything on the right table, the customer lookup table, then records that matches it. So anyway, I see null. That is because you don't have record for this particular customer on the sales orders. Same thing here. We don't have the record for this particular customer on the sales orders. But with that, it only return the record that matches it. Then those that did not match, return null for them. Then the next one is inner join. Just like how we all did set theory in school, that if we say set A intersection set B, it means that any element that is in A and in B, you bring them out, you filter them out. So the same thing here, we are saying inner join or join. It means filter out the record based on the common IDs between both tables. So I'll copy this again now, Control C, and I'll paste it here. Control V. Then I'll change this from right join. I'll give this inner join. Is that you put just join or inner join? It's still the same thing. You give it the same result. So I'll change this from right join to inner join. Inner join. So what I'm saying is any ID common between both tables, filter the record for both tables and merge it together. So I'll run this now. F5. And you see that it returned 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. And that is because these are the common IDs between both tables. If I run this now, you can see 1 here, you can see 1 here, you can see 2 here, you can see 2 here, you can see 4 here, you can see 4 here. These are the common ones between both tables, and that is why I returned that. Then what about full outer join? It means everything on the left table, combine it with everything on the right table, merge them together and form a full table. So let's see. Copy this, Control C, and I'll paste it here. Control V. So I'm saying everything on the right table, merge it with everything on the left table. So I'll change this from inner join to full join. So we have full join, change this to full join. Full join. Then let's run it. F5. So you can see all tables meshed together. You are seeing everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 5. You see all the tables have been combined together. And anyway, you are seeing null. That is because the record of those persons cannot be found on the sales orders table. So this is how it's very easy. Once you can remember the one we did, the merging queries we did in Microsoft Excel, you should be able to understand this perfectly. The next thing we're going to be looking at is the union. And what is this union operator used for? Just like we did merging and appending of queries. Merging is just like joins in SQL, while appending is like union in SQL. So you stack tables on top of each other. And don't forget. So let me just type this now. Union, the union operator. So appending is like you stacking your tables, your queries on top of each other. There's a rule for you to append your tables. Number one, they have to be of the same column structure, the same number of columns. They must have the same number of data types. So let's look at this now. And the order must be of the same thing. So I think I have the data we'll be using for that here. For join the union. Sorry. So we'll create another table. Copy all this here. Okay. Let me copy this, Control C, and I'll paste it here. Didn't copy that. So let me copy this now. The customer. Okay, the North American customer and the Europe customer. So I'll just copy everything here. Control C, and I'll paste it. So now I'm just going to run everything all together at once so that, but here I can just remove this since I'm going to be adding all the values to all the table. I don't want this. I don't have to specify. So let's go by it and remove those. So I'm okay with this now. Create a table, North American customers. We have all these values. Same thing for, we have Europe customers as well. So I'll run everything at once. Okay. So line 315. What's the problem? Okay, so we don't have a comma here. So you have to note we don't have a comma here. So if you are doing that at your end too, note that. So I'll run it again. F5. Okay, that's added North American to database already. So let me just do for Europe. F5. So we have this. So now how do I view all the data in both the North America and the Europe? So I would say select all from the North American customers, then select all from Europe customers. So we have Europe customers. So if I run these two to get, where is the, oh my, select all from North American customers. So let's run these two data and see F5. So you can see that we have two tables here. One is coming from North American and one is from Europe. But I want to combine these two data together, these two tables together to form a single table, appending them. So rule for appending or rule for unioning or joining your data is that they must be of the same column structure, the same data type, and of the same order. When I say column structure, it's that if this one is 5, the other one must be 5. If this one is 4, the other one must be 4. Then data type, if this one is int, this one must also be int. If this is text, it must also be text. If it's number, it must also be number, the same data type. Then it must be of the same order. If there's customer ID here, there must be customer ID here as well. It should not be here, but also where the same position that the first one is at the same position the second one must be. So now I want to join these two tables together. So we have union and union all. For union will add all your tables together, and if there's duplicates, if you have duplicate record, it removes the duplicate record and add the remaining ones. But union all, we add everything including the duplicate. So you notice in this Europe customers table, we have 6, 7, we have 7, 8. We have 7 and 8 appearing twice here. So if I want to remove the duplicates, I want to append the tables together and remove those duplicates from it, I will just use union. So instead of we have select all from North American customer, then in between I'll put in the union. Select all from North American customer, union, select all from real customer. If I add all this together, F5, run it. You would notice that you won't be able to find that duplicate anymore. You won't find 7 and 8 appearing twice, but just once. It has removed the duplicate from the data. But if I use union all, if I want to still see the duplicates, I would use union all. And with union all, it add the data together. You will still see your duplicates in that data. So let's run this together and F. So you can see we have the 7, 8 here. You can also see it here, 7 and 8. The duplicate appeared more than once. So that's the difference between union and union all. It's the same thing as appending your queries in Microsoft Excel or even in Power BI or in Power Query. So all you have to do is to know when, or if I want to see all the records, I don't want to lose any of the data. I want to see everything, including the duplicates. Use union all. Oh, I don't want to see the duplicate. I only want to see the data, unique record. Use union and to filter out the duplicate from your data. So that is that on the union operator. All right, so the next thing we'll be looking at now, before we go on, so can someone just quickly share with me the difference between the joints and the union operator? Anybody who wants to just quickly differentiate between both? Is Paul there? Can Paul hear me?
All right, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Okay, like join returns, maybe like we have the common column in each table. So
Okay.
join return that to us like the common tables in a feed. So but when it comes to union, it's combine everything together and remove the duplicates there.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. All right, so the next thing we're looking at some functions in SQL. So let me just type this in, functions in SQL. So first, we start with some text functions or string functions, as you call it, function in SQL. So first, I want to look at concatenate. And as we all know what concatenate to do, to merge or join multiple strings together. So first, let's look at all the data in our dim customer table. Select all from dim customers, and I'll run this F. Okay, so there's no, it should be the S. So I'll run this again, F5. This is our dim customer. What I want to do is, oh yes, before we move to that function, I wanted to show us how we can filter out, maybe you want to filter out record where a particular column is containing null. So we notice that this our prefix, we have some null cells there. When I say null, it means field that contains no value. So we have nulls in this prefix. If you open this data in Microsoft Excel, you notice that there are some empty cells in that prefix column. So let's say I want to filter out record. So let me quickly do this now before we move to functions. Forgot. Let's say I want to is null and is not null. So let's say I want to filter out records of people where their prefix is null. So I'd come here and say select. I'll specify the name I want to bring out. Select the first name, the last name, and let's say I don't want to return all the data, the gender and annual income. Annual income from where? From the dim customer table, where the prefix is null. When you're saying where the prefix is null, you're saying that where values in that column, we have empty cells, empty fields in that column. So I'm going to run this now, F5. You're not seeing anything. Now, if I should add this, all you're seeing here are records where we have prefix to be null. They don't have prefix. If I should add this prefix to the front of it now so that you know and confirm that you have the correct record. Prefix. So let's run this again. F5. So you can see where we have prefix are showing null, 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 all true. So all these people are people that they don't have prefix. Their prefix cells are empty. Maybe they forgot to add the Mrs. or the Mr. or Miss for them, and that was why it's returning null. What if I don't want to see record of people where the prefix is not null? I would use is not null, and I'll run this, and this will return record of people that they have prefix. Their prefix cell is not empty, so you can see that. So use case, what if you are working on a data set that has to do with sales, and maybe by mistake some persons did not, or those working on it did not impute sales amount for some persons, and you're just seeing null, 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 true. So how do I filter out record of those that their sales amount was not imputed? I would have to use is null or is not null to filter out whatever I want to filter out from that data. So let's just go to the functions in SQL. Well, after the class, I would share resources with us where you can also go and learn more about it, because SQL is so broad and you have to something you have to do over and over and over again until you become very, very used to it. Else you can forget it. So let's select from customer. So we have this. Let's see all the data here. F5. So we have this now. So I want to combine the prefix first name and last name. I want to form a full name from this table, then return their gender and their annual income. So I'd come here and say, first, I want to look at concatenate. So I'd come here and say, select. I want to see all their full name. So let me just add their customer name. Sorry, their customer key. Customer key. Select the customer key, comma. So to get the full name, I'll use concat. So concat, open my parentheses, then the first argument here is the expression. So I want to bring in the prefix, comma, this the first name, comma, the first name, comma, the last name, close my parentheses, as you have to alias this to do not give it a column name, as full name, comma. I also want to see the gender. Let's just return these three. From where? From dim customers. Dim customer. Then I'll run this. Let's see. F5. But you notice something. When I run this, you can see we have a full name here, combining both the prefix, the first name, and last name. But you notice that both the three columns are merged, they are joined together with no space in between them. So what do? We have to introduce the character for space for us to have space in between. And what is this character for space? We don't forget space. In Excel, it is double quotation mark, space, double quotation mark. But here it's just single quotation mark, space, single quotation mark, comma. I'll come here, single quotation mark, space, single quotation mark, comma. So I'm saying prefix, space, the first name, space, then the last name. So I'll run this again, F5, and we have space in between. Another way you can do this is by just using the plus symbol. How do I do this? I'll come here and I would say prefix plus, I'll make sure to add my character for space, plus first name, plus, I'll add my character for space, plus then the last name. Then I'll run this now, and we get the same result. So the next thing we'll look at is the left. Don't forget these functions used for extracting the left, the right, the len. So anybody want to remind us what the left, right, and len function is used for in just 1 minute? What is the left, right, and len function used for in just 1 minute? Anybody? Who's helping us out? Left.
Yeah, left is to get certain numbers of letters or data from the left side of a particular data. Right is the same thing, to get the right part of a particular word or a record. Then length is to tell us the character length or the character number of a particular record.
All right, thank you very, very much, sir. And if you remember mid, did we did you treat mid when we were looking at these extension functions? Did we look at mid? So we look at substring here. Substring is just like mid function in Excel, how that you can specify what your starting point would be and also the number of characters you want to extract. So let's say I want to work with this. Let me select everything from the dim customer. F5. So dim customer. So let's say I'll just work with the first name. So let's say I want to extract the first two letters from the first name as well as the last two letters from the last name. So let's look at this. I'll just pick select, let me select the first name, select first name, comma, then what else? I want to extract the first two letters. So I would say use the function left, then open my parentheses. And what is the expression? It is the first name that I want to work with. I'll type in my first name that I want to work with, first name, comma. What is the number of characters you want to extract? I want to extract the first two letters. I'll close my parentheses. If you don't specify what the column name should be, it's going to return no column name. So I have to alias this as, let's give this left. I'll just put L first name to differentiate from the other one. Then specify what table this column is coming from. It's coming from the dim customer table. So I'd say from dim customer. From dim customer. Then I'll run this F5. So you can see that it has extracted the first two letters from this customer name. So if you, in case you're having a column that contains dates, months, maybe month, and you want to extract first two letters of the month, you know how to do that. So for the rights, I want to remove or extract the last three letters of the last name. So I'm just using this because we don't have a perfect example to use here, but at least I want to believe we'll get that. To V, then I would say right. I'll just open my parentheses. Then what do I want to do with the rights? I want to extract from the last name the last three letters, comma 3. Then I'll close my parentheses and I'll give this R last name to specify or differentiate it from the normal one. R last name. Then let me run this F5. And you can see that it has extracted the last three letters from this last name, except for this person that has LU as just the person's name, person's last name. All right, then for the len, just how you use len to count the number of characters, you can use the len function here. So what do I want to do? I want to count the number of characters in the, so I'll use length. It is length. Open parentheses, and what do I want to count? Let's say I want to count the first name, number of characters in the first name. And I'll close my parentheses. Then let's run this. But I don't specify. Oh. So F5. Now you can see we have the number of characters for this for the first name. That's for the first name. All right, so the next thing we're going to look at is what's the upper and lower function used for? Upper and lower, very simple. It has to do with their cases. If you want to convert to capital letter or to small letter. So let's say I want to change, let's draw everything out from the dim customer first of all. So we have all these, and I want to reduce all the cases. They are currently in capital. I want to change them from capital letter to small letter. So all I have to do is to just say, okay, select the first name. I want to first name, comma, then lower, open bracket, first name, close my bracket as, let me just give this lower name, Where's it coming from? From the dim customers. So I'll run this now, F5, and you can see how that has reduced the cases from what you're seeing now to this. So the same thing, if you want to take it back to uppercase, just use upper, and upper will fix that. So if I use upper here instead of lower, that would fix that for us. Good. So we didn't look at substring here. Substring is just like mid function in Excel, how that if I don't want to extract from the left or from the right, I want to pick from the middle or somewhere else far from the left and right, I can use my substring. In Excel, we use mid. So here I can just come here. I want to, let me run everything and see where I want to extract from. F5. So let's say from this educational level, doesn't make sense though, but, or let's look at occupation and say I want to extract maybe from this F in professional here to, I want F to be my first number, then I want to extract 4 others after it. So currently F is on number 4. The position is 4. So I'd come here and say select first name, left name, first name, so comma. So I'll use substring. So with substring, you can specify where you want to extract from. So I want to extract from the occupation column, comma. So what is your, the next thing is, what is your start position? It's number 4. How many number of characters do you want to extract after it? 4 as well. I'll close my parentheses. Then let's run this. I won't give it a column name. So let's just run it. And you can see how that it extracted from that middle that I wanted to extract from. So with this function, you can extract, unlike the left and right that you can only extract from the left and from the right. With this substring, you can subtract or extract from in between your strings or your text. So the next thing we'll look at now is, let's look at the trim function. So there's trim, right trim, left trim. So let's look at them. There's trim, there's out trim, and there's left trim. So let's see, we have, I think I have to add maybe one. So let me just add, I'll add to this Europe customers. So let me add to Europe customers. Let me first see the values that we have there. So we have this Europe customers. I would say insert into Europe customers. Insert into Europe customers values. So let me just, I'm going to use our names. So Okoyemi, you want to start first. There's customer ID. So customer ID, let's give it 11, comma, the name Okoyemi Usman. So I'm going to give it a lot of space. Then I'll put Okoyemi Usman, comma, the email, maybe usman@gmail.com, comma, the country is from Nigeria. I'll close my parentheses, comma, I want to add one more or two more. 12, comma. So who is on the Paul Swame? So let's give Paul Swame. I'll give a lot of space again, comma, is Gmail, paul@gmail.com, comma, and it's also from Nigeria. Then one last person, 13, comma. So a female, I think, let me use Adeyemi Adenuga. Adeyemi Adenuga. Our email, adenuga@gmail.com. And where is she from? Let's say she's from Canada. Canada. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to. Canada. Let me just give this Canada OG. So I'm going to close my parentheses and add this in. So let's add this into the Euro customer table. Execute. So we have 3 rows affected, and I want to select the data there. Select all from Europe customers. So let's see all this data here. So you can see that if you look at this customer name, we have some irrelevant or unnecessary space in between. We have space in front of Adeyemi Adenuga, we have space in front of Opeyemi's name, and we also have space here in front of Paul's name, but it's not very visible because it's on the right. So how do I trim out excess spaces? Just the way we trimmed excess spaces from our data in Power Query using the trim feature. We use the trim function here to do that. And how do I do this? So let's say I want to select just the name. Now we work with just the name. So I'd say select the customer name, comma. So what we trim works as both a left and right trim function. If I use trim, open brackets, then I type in the customer name I want to work with. Customer name, I close my parentheses as trimmed name, trimmed name. Where is it coming from? From the Europe customer table. If I use this and I run this query F5, you would see that we don't have, look, compare this customer name to this stream name. You can't find those SS spaces anymore. It has trimmed everything away. You can't find space in front of Opeyemi anymore. You can't find space in front of Adeyemi anymore. That's for trim. Trim will work both as both left trim and right trim. So what will left trim? Let's start with left trim. L trim. What we do, if you have SS spaces in front, just like the way Opeyemi and Adeyemi has SS spaces in front of their names, it will trim it off. So I'd come here and say, let me copy this now again, instead of doing it again. Copy and paste, Control V, and I'll just add L. So we have L trim like this. So it means filter out or cut off SS spaces from the left. So I'll run this F5, and you see that we don't have any space. If I do for the right trim, you may not really see the difference because it's on the right. So if I want to do for the right as well, right trim, and that would fix that. F5, and we are good. So right trim did not trim. For right trim, it did not trim the one at the left for Opeyemi and for Adeyemi. It only removed the one for Paul, even if it's not visible. You can't see because it's on the right. For left trim, we remove the one for both Opeyemi and for Adeyemi. So which one we remove for everything? The trim function will work as both the left trim function and the right trim function to trim out excess spaces from your data. So the next thing we are going to look at is, we're going to look at the replace function. So you can see here that in Opeyemi's, in Adeyemi's record here, we are seeing Canada OG, which is not making sense. It should be Canada, not Canada OG. I don't think there's a country with that name, Canada OG. So it means there's a typo or something happened. So how do I change this from Canada OG to just leave it at just Canada alone? So I'll come here and let's add in comma, or let me just do it here, comma, then I'll give this I think is the country, comma. So let's run this and see first. So we have this. So how do I use Canada OG? I'm going to use a function called replace. So I'll say replace. What do I want to replace? I'll put my parentheses. What I want to replace is the country. So the country, a value in the country, comma. So what is the value I want to replace? I want to replace this Canada OG. So sorry, what do you want to replace? I have to put the value I want to replace, which is just this dash OG, right? I want to replace it. So what do you want to replace it with? If you have something else you want to replace it with, specify. If you don't have, just leave it blank like this, and I'll close my parentheses. So I'm saying in the country column, search for OG, list dash OG. Wherever you see it, just give space. If you're not giving space, if you want to specify something else, specify it. And let's run this. I can just as fixed country. So let me just put fixed country. Fixed country. Then I'll run this. Sorry, let me run from here. F5. And that would fix that. So that's that on that. So the next function we'll look at, we have a lot of functions, but we're just looking at a few of them. So after the like I said, I would give us some resources to look up and practice more. Practice more. SQL needs a lot of practices, not just do once and leave it, you forget. So what do we do? Let's look at the dim customer table again. Select all from dim customer. Select all from dim customer. So I'll run all this. F5. So we have all this now. I want to see the customer. Let's say I want to only work with the first name, then the birth date. I also want to see the birth year, the birth month. Now we don't have maybe I would have used the others table, but let's just use this one. You can practice that at your end. So I want to see the birth date. I want to see the birth month, the birth year, the birth quarter. So I'd come here and I would say select what do I want to select. I want to select the first name. I want to select the birth date, comma. So what do I want to see next? Okay, so hold on, give me a minute. My phone. Sorry, a call came in. All right. Birth date. Then I want to extract the year from this birth date. So I would say year, then in bracket, I would put the birth date. What I want to extract year from the birth date. Or no, let's do this. Birth dates. I'll use the function date name. So date name, open my parentheses, date name, open my parentheses, then I would put in year, comma, that's the part, the date name at the interval. So what is the, then I is coming from the birth date. Then I'll close my parentheses. I can see what it's telling you what is returned. It's going to return n value, a text. So I'll close my parentheses and I'll give this as year, comma. If I want you to return the month, date name, open my parentheses, then what's the interval? Month. Then what is the column you wanted to extract the month from? Birth date. So what else? Let's say I want to do for quarter as well. As I have to specify that it's coming from as month or birth month. Anyhow, let me just add the birth year to specify birth year, then birth month. Birth month. So if you want to do for quarter, same thing for quarter, but let's leave it at this, and I'll just scroll down to see. So we have, yeah. So you have to specify where it's coming from. It's coming from the dim customer. From dim customer. Then I'll run this. So the reason why I'm still having errors because we didn't spell this first name very well, so I have to spell it well. First name. So let's run this. And you can see how that it has extracted the birth year, the birth month from this birth dates column. So I think we are good with this. The next thing we're going to look at is we look at subqueries. Or before we start looking at those parts, let's look at some data modification. So I'm going to work with this Europe customers table, F5 to run this. So we have this table now, or let me just work with this. Let me work with this. So what I want to do now is, the first thing we look at, if you want to drop a table, you know how to drop a table, just use the command drop table, and that would drop the table. If you want to drop a database, drop database, but I don't want to drop anything. I already showed us in the first video. So let's say I don't want to drop this table. As if you want to drop table, just type in drop table, then specify the table name you want to drop with Europe customer. Hit that, then run it, and F5 or press this button to drop the table. So to drop the table, everything, the table itself and the records, but I don't want to drop it. What I want to do is, what if I want to, let me run this. I don't want to run this. Let me return everything from this table. Good. What if I want to update? Let's say I want to update. Okay, good. Let's say I want to update where I have this 13. I want to change this person name from Adeyemi Adenuga. I want to change the name from that to, let's see who is on the call. Let's say I want to change the name to Hannah Adaja. So I'll come here and say, okay, I would use update. So update, I want to change this record. Instead of this name, Adeyemi Adenuga, I want to change it to Hannah Adaja. Update table. So what table do I want to? I want to work with the Europe customer table. So update table. Then what do you want to do? Set what? Set the customer name to be equal to Hannah Daja. You have to specify where you want to, what record do you want to change. So since we have a customer ID, I'll just say where customer ID is equal to 13. If you don't specify where the customer ID of that person is going to update every record, every name there, from this person to the last person here with Anna Daja. Now let's see what happens. Let's say I come here without specifying where, and I run this F5. 10 rows affected. Let's look at all the data from that Europe customer table. F5. You would see that everything has been updated with Hannah Daja. So now I don't have any choice than to let me just drop this. I think we use the begin transaction. We can roll back, but we can't roll back now. We didn't specify that. So let me just drop this table. Drop table Europe customers. So you have to be very careful when using the updates. Always specify where. So I'll drop the table. So successfully, I would just go and add it back. Create the table again for Europe customers. Seven was affected. Then I'm going to add the one I added for. Good. So now let's view all the data here. So you have to be very careful. F5. So the next thing I want to look at, let's just continue from there. Instead of leaving it that just set customer name to be this, all I'm going to do is then specify where the customer ID is equal to what? 13. So I'll specify the role it should change. Then I'll run all this. F5. You can see we have one row affected. So if I want to select everything, let's say I'm selecting everything now, select all from Europe customers. Let's run this and see. You will see that the record has been changed from Adeyemi Adenuga to Anna Adaja. So that's how you use the update. Always specify, add that where to specify what condition, based on what condition. So what if I want to delete record from this table? So let's say I want to delete, we have duplicates. We have 7 and 8. We also have 7 and 8. I want to delete this. Oh, bro, if you use 7 and 8 to delete all the record for 7 and 8. But
Hello,
let's say
ma.
you want to.
Hello, ma.
Yeah, can you? Yes.
Yeah, before you continue, okay. Let's assume this record was changed successfully, and we want to change also the Gmail or the email address. How do we go about that?
Now, of that person, right? Let's say I want to change set customer name to be equal to Anna Daja. I also want to change. Now we've done this. Let me do this for another person. Set customer name to be equal to, let's say, Okpe. We have your name there, Okpeyemi Usman. So let me just write your name correctly instead of the one with space here. Okpeyemi Usman. I also want to change your email. Then email, comma, email equal to. So I'll specify your email. So what's your email? What do you want to change it to? Tell me. Are you there?
Yes, okpeyemi@gmail.com.
So Okpeyemi at gmail.com. This is what you are specifying. So where Okpeyemi's ID is 11, so I'll change it from 13 to 11. Then if I should run this now, that should update your record. One row affected. So select everything from Europe F5. So I have your record now. From 11, we have Okpeyemi. Then the email has been changed, and so that's how you do that. So let's say I want to, now this is for update. The next thing I'm going to look at, let's say I want to delete, let's say I want to delete a record for this person, 7 and 8. If I want to do just one record, say delete from where? The tables you want to delete from Europe. So one thing you need to know to here with the delete, you have to use from. Only if you know you want to delete all the record from the table. If I hit this delete from Europe customers, it will delete everything from the table. Everything. So if you only want to delete some records, you have to specify where. So I'll do where. If I delete this now, everything on that table will be gone. Let's run it and see. F5. 10 rows affected. Select all from customers. Nothing is there because we use delete from without specifying where we want to delete. So I have to go back now and go and add them to create the table. Now someone is saying, is this how we're going back? No, there's a way you do it that if you begin a transaction and begin to save at every point. So if something happens, you can always roll back. But we won't do that now. So let's just create the table back again. I'm trying to show us the implication of not adding the where or specifying where you want to delete. Okay, yeah, there's a table with the name already. We didn't delete the whole table. So that delete will only clear all the record from the table, but it would not delete the table itself. So I have to just click on insert, and we have that record. Come back here again. I also add this as well. So let's say I want to delete from, so I'm just going to run this so we see what we're working on. So let's say I want to delete from the customers, the Europe customers, where the customer ID, the record of this person, customer ID 8, where customer ID is equal to 8. So I'll run this now. F5, 2 rows affected. That's because we have two records with the customer ID 8. So I'll select all, F5, and you'll see that we don't have any row with the customer ID 8. What if I want to delete more than 2 rows with different IDs? So this is where customer ID in. Don't forget I said this in operator is when you have multiple values that you want to filter from. So where in, so I open my bracket, where in what, let's say I want to remove 11, 12, and 13. So 11, 12, 13. I'll close my parentheses. You know, if you're dealing with text, if it's text you want to remove, if you want to remove based on customer name, you have to wrap your text around single quotation mark. So I'll run this now, and F5. So 3 rows affected. If I select all, you won't find those rows anymore. They would have been removed from the data. So the next thing we want to look at, now there's truncate that also works like from. Truncate as well, remove all the records from the table. So if I use say truncate, let's say I use truncate, and I put truncate Europe customers, it will remove all the records. It will not delete the table, but all the records in that table will be gone. It's just like delete without specifying with the where the where clause. All right. So I think the next thing I want us to look at is look at the author statement. Before then, let's look at backup. So let's say you want to back up a database, just the way you back up your contacts, backup stuff on your system, so that when you lose them, you can always go to the backup and get them back. The same thing here. So let's say I want to back up this database that I'm working on. You're currently working on the Clique One database. I want to back up all the data there. Just come here. Either you use your SQL command here, or you just come here to database. I'm going to do it. I'll do it first with this my data click. I'll come here to this database, my data click, right click, and you see tags. So here in tags, you would see backup. So when I click on backup, it will bring the backup dialog box here, backup database. So this is the database. So what type of backup? We have full backup and we have differential backup. What's the difference? Well, this full backup is saying you are backing up the entire database. Why differential is you are backing up to the point where you backed up last. So let's say I've backed up before and I currently worked on this database. I want to back up what I've worked on now. So if you use with differential, it will back up to the point that you backed up last. So I'm going with full because I've not backed up this data before. And it will tell you where, it will ask you, where do you want to back this data up? Is it in your disk or you have a URL you want to impute? So we'll go with disk because I want to back it on my system. Then the next thing I want to look at, it will tell you where this is going to be added to. It's telling you it's going to be in the C program files, Microsoft SQL Server, this. This is where it's going to back the backup. So let's look at it very well. And you notice it ended with .back. This BAK. That is to show you that this is a file that was kept as a backup. So you have to look at this where it is very well. The ones I'm done is currently in the Microsoft SQL Server, programs for Microsoft SQL Server. Then this place backup. So let me just hit OK. And this would back up. So the backup of database completed successfully. It has backed it up. If I want to get this backup back, just use restore. So what if I want to use the SQL command? I want to back up this Clique One. So I'll come here and say backup database. What is database name? Backup database Clique One. Then what do I want to do? Backup database to disk equal to. So I have to specify. So I can go to where I want this data to be backed up in. So I'll go to my file back. Let's say here in the local disk is currently, I think, program files. Here in Microsoft SQL Server. And I think it's here in Microsoft this place. And you can see backup. So I can just, you can see all the files I've worked that I've backed up here. You can find them here. Then what do I want to do? I can just copy the file paths here. Control C, then I'll go back to this place and I'll paste it. Control V, then slash, put that same forward slash, and I'll put the Clique One, the database I want to back up, Clique One dot back, like this. So I've done this now and let's run it. So can you see that process this? It will tell you the number of pages that's processed, then backup successfully processed at this particular time, and we are done. So let's say something happened and you want to get this database back. You just use the command restore database, then restore that database, and you type in the database you want to restore, and you're good. Okay, so time is going. So let's just move straight to the part we want to look at now. Let's look at subquery. Subquery. So from the word subquery, anybody have an idea what subquery is? What is it all about? Anybody? You want to share? What do you understand by subquery? Have you heard of subquery before? Anybody? Anybody? Okay. So subquery is just like having query inside of query. You have query inside of query, query inside query. So now we're going to look at this now. We look at it in the select statement, we look at it in the from statement, we also look at it in the where clause. The subquery can also be used in the insert, delete, and update can be used with them, but we look at just these three. Then we'll look at cities and we'll be done. So let's start now. First, we're going to look at we look at subquery in the select statement. So let's say I want to work with this. I'm still working with this dim customer. So I'm going to just select all from dim customer. Select all from dim customer. Dim customer, and I'll run this. So we have all our data here. Then what do I want to do? So let's say I want to see the average. I want to select all the customers, the first customer name. That's the first name for the customers. I also want to see their annual income. Then I want to also be able to compare the annual income with the average income for everybody. So I'd come here and say select what? Select the first name. Let me add last name to it as well. The last name. Select first name, the last name, comma, then annual income, comma, then open my parentheses and said select the average AVG, average annual income, close my parentheses, from where? From, is coming also from the dim customer. Dim customer, I'll close my parentheses and I have to alias this as, let's give this average income. This is the average income. Average income. As you can see here that this is a subquery. So where is it coming from? So let's first name, last name, annual income from the dim customer itself. So if I run this now, dim customer, so let's run this. If I run this now, F5. So you can see here that with this, I can just, run through this and say, okay, for this person, John Young, I can say that this is the annual income. It's obvious that he earns above the average income of all the customers. This is Eugene, he earns 60,000, which is above the average income. This is Ruben, he earns 60 above annual income. So I can compare the annual income with the average income and know who is earning high. So if I also want to filter this, let's say where the annual income is greater than 100. I want to see those that their annual income is greater than 100. I run this F5. We have records of people that earn higher than 100, and you can see that they are earning. So if I want to see those that are below, if the annual income is around this range, let's say I want to see those that earn below 50,000 naira. So you get to see those that they are not even earning up to the average income for everybody. And you can see this. Okay, greater than, we use greater than, yes, less than. Sorry, so less than. I'll run this F5 and you can see those earning below the average income. So this is how you can see how we use a subquery inside the select statement. So what about in the from statement? So I'll come here and say, let's say I want to see, okay, so let's do this. Select the first name, comma, last name, then the annual income, of what? First name, last name, annual income from. So from, I want to get this data from this same dim customer, but where all their occupation is clerical and profession. Let's look at all the data here. Let me just colony how this thing. So we have education level is this, or let's just go with this. Let's say where the annual income is greater than 100. So I'll say from, open my parentheses, or just go to the next line, the tab, open my parentheses, and said, okay, select what? I want to select all from dim customer where the annual income is greater than, let's say greater than 150,000. Then I'll close my parentheses and I'll alias this as what? Let's give this high earners, very high earners, very high earners, very high earners. So what you can see that we have our subquery in the from statements here. So what this would do, let's say I also want to, from this whole thing, I also want to see where occupation is for both, occupation in, open my parentheses, is in professional. I want to do that the occupation is professional, as well as management, then clerical. I think there's clerical there. Clerical. So let's close this. So what will this do first? What is to do is first run the subquery, because we are getting our data from this subquery. Don't forget it, select first name, last name, and annual income from, it is our table where it is coming from is from this subquery here. So I have to, if you run this now, let's see what the result will be. F4. Oh, sorry, I pressed F4, F5. F5. Okay, so we have a, yeah, that's because we highlighted. So let's see, we highlighted this one. So you have to select only the one in between the bracket. So I'll run this F5, and you can see this is the record of all that are earning above 150, our high income earners. So what it's going to do is it's going to be drawing the data from this table here. So once I'm done, we've checked this out. Now this is where our data is going to be coming from. Now filter out these particular occupations and draw the first name, last name, and annual income for us. So I run everything now, F5, and you can see we have the first name, the last name, and annual income greater than 150,000 of those working in the professional, occupation, management, and clerical. So what about in the where statements? You can have subquery as well in the where statements. So let's say I want to see, so I'll say select, so I'm selecting the first name, I'm selecting last name, comma. I also want to see the annual income from where the dim, from the dim customers, where, so where what? Where annual income, I want to see the annual income of those that are above average. So where annual income is greater than, so I'll open my parenthesis now and say select. So one thing you should note in this select, the selecting the subquery must only take one, that's the one in the where, must only take one single column, one single field. So where what? Because I'm dealing with the annual income. So select, or want to find average, where the average AVG annual income, close my parenthesis, AVG annual income as average income. I'll close my parentheses. This is like basic. So I'm saying select the first name, the last name, annual income from dim customers. I'm always putting S here. Dim customer, where the annual income is greater than the average of the annual income. So I'll run this now. F5. Okay. So an aggregate may not appear in the where clause unless it is a subquery contained in the having clause or a select list and the column being aggregated is in an outer reference. Okay, good. So we have the select. So let's look at this.
I think it's the where instead of
Yes,
where maybe it
would
should
have
be
put the
having.
having. Yes, it is the having would have used here. But I want to show us, I'm not looking at the having. I don't want to look at just this example. I don't want to look at the having, the subqueries and having for now. So let's where annual income is select. So let's look at the annual income. Annual income where annual income where annual, just trying to look for another example. Annual income is greater than, let's say greater than 100. And I'll close this. So let's see. So why is it returning empty? Probably because you don't have any customer that their annual income here is greater. So first, let's run this. We should have a result. Here's my flashlight. Okay, so we are having error. Don't worry, you encounter this as well when you are working because everybody encounters errors when working with SQL. So let's look at it together. As I said, it's very important you have this line, these numbers that can help you identify which line your error is coming from. So we have level 16, state 11, state 1, line 395, invalid column name, annual income. Okay. Now, we didn't specify where it is coming from. Select annual income from so once you can understand the error, you should know what to do from the dim customers. So let's do this. Wow, we are still having error. Okay, subquery return more than one value. Now, yes, if your subquery is going to return more than one value, you have to use the in. So when I run this now, if I should run this one now, F5, you see that we have more than one value here. You have multiple records, multiple rows here. So if you're going to be having multiple rows, you would change it. It doesn't have to be this greater than or equal to or less than. It has to be just the in because you have more than one value here. If I run this now, it will not give us that error. F5 would have a result for it. So if your result from the subquery is going to be more than one row, more than one is going to be more than one value, you have to use in. It's only if it's going to be a single. You should work with average. Let's look at average again. You should work with average. Average annual income. You should work with average annual income. Let's run this and see. If I run this, let me see. If I run, select the average annual income from dim customer where annual income is greater than 100. F5. You can see we have a result for it. There's a result now. So once I'll change it because we have a single value. If you have a single value, you're going to use the either end of the operator, standard operator, greater than, less than, or equal to any one of the standard operator. Note, if you have a single value like this, use any of the standard operator. If you have multiple values in different rows, use in. So I'll run this now, F5, and we should have a result for that. So that's for subquery. You can also use it with the insert, like I said, the delete, the update, as well. But just look at how to use it with the select, from, and the where. So the last thing we're looking at, last thing is CTE. And what are CTE? CTEs, from the name CTE, common table expression, they are used for complex queries, and they can also be referenced. So let's look at it very, very quickly. So it's just like you trying to explain something first before you start going into doing the task. Now let's just do something. So let's assume that in this dim customer, where's the dim customer? Let me select all from dim customer. So I'll just do something simple. Select all from dim customer, and I'll run this F5. So we have this now. What I want to see, we want to find all customers with income above average income for all of them. We want to see the customers with the income above average income. So now, if I'm going to use a CTE to do this, first, with CTE, like I said, it's help you. It's what when you're dealing with complex queries, you use CTE to make your codes readable. Anybody that sees and understands what you are doing. And instead of using subqueries every time, with CTE, you are good to go. So I'd say, okay, and it starts with the with clause. So I'd say with. The first thing I want to do, what we were asked to find is customers with the income above the average income for all. So what I would like to do first is to first find the income average. So I'll say with, so with what? I'll give it a name. What my CTE? With CTE, which is the name is going to be average, income average, with CTE income average as, this is the CTE name now, the common table expression name now, as what? Enter, then tab to open a new bracket. I would say, okay, what I want to find is to find, so select the AVG, open my parenthesis, AVG what? AVG annual income, AVG annual income as what? As AVG income. Where is this coming from? It is coming from the dim customers table, the dim customer. So let me close my parenthesis. So the first thing I do is to, so okay, so let's first find the average income as average income from customers, the dim customers. Then once they are done now, I want to now see all the customers. So CT would not work like this. If I run this, it would not work. It has to be followed by my query. I want to see select what? Select the first name, comma, the last name, comma. I also want to see the annual income, comma. Then what I want to see now is, I think I'm okay with this one. From, where's it coming from? From, it has to be from where my annual income is greater than,
Check the from line.
what do you say?
Check the from line. Check the from
Okay.
line.
From, yes, thank you. Select first name, last name, the annual income from the customer, where the annual income is greater than. So let's see this. Select AVG income from the income average. And I'll close my parentheses. So most of the time, what I use this for, I use CT most of the time when I want to remove duplicates from my table. Maybe I'm trying to split into fact and dimension tables. We look at that in our next class, how you can split the data into fact and dimension tables. And once you are done, if you want to remove duplicate, like you used to remove in Excel, we'll use CTE. So I'll show you how to do that in the next class. So let's run this now. So with CT, this income average. So let's run this and see. So we have our results. What I did first is me trying to explain my code. That the first thing I did was to first find the average annual income. And when I was done finding the average annual income, I selected the first name, the last name, then the annual income from the deemed customer, where the annual income is greater than what we calculated here. The annual income, the average income, I mean, coming from this CTE we created. So it's just simplifying your queries. If I'm to use subquery to do this, it's going to be someone reading it, and it's because this one is not even complex. Someone using it, reading it, might get confused. If let's say I want to use subquery, so this is going to be the last thing we're doing now. Let's say I want to use subquery to do this now. I would say, so using subquery to do this. Using subquery, I would say, okay, select full name, the first name, the first name, comma, then the last name, comma, then first name, last name, comma, then I want to look at the annual income, comma. So no, first name, last name, annual income, where is it coming from? It's coming from the deemed customer. Okay, so where, so we'll now add our subquery here in the where clause, where the annual income, is greater than, open parenthesis, then I'll say select AVG, open my parenthesis, AVG annual income, AVG annual income, then close my parenthesis. Where is it coming from? From my deemed customer. Now this one is not even looking more complex because this one is still simple. Imagine if you are dealing with complex query. You would know how important it is that we use CT. From where is it coming from? It's coming from the deemed customer. Deemed customers. Now close my parentheses and let's run this. So first name, the last name, annual income. So let's run this. You should give us the same result. You have the same result. So instead of using subqueries, anybody looking at my CTE now can see that, okay, it's just like me explaining what I did before I came here to get the original result. I found this average income for all the customers. Then when I was done, I filtered the record of the first of some people based on what I've gotten here. But here, looking at this, select first name, last name, annual income from customers where the annual income is greater than, select again. So CTs are reusable. They can be referenced. You can see how I referenced it here and I got my result. So they can be referenced. So when we come back on Sunday, we'll do one more example on CTs and just get that, then work on our project. And I'll be showing us how we can document our SQL projects work on GitHub. So on Sunday, we'll meet then. All right. So thank you, everybody. We're just 7 on the call now. I guess everybody has 1 or 2 to do. So in 2 minutes, can we just share what we picked from today's class? Are we there? Can
Yes,
anybody hear
yeah.
me? Oh my God, who is talking? Is that
Yes,
Paul or
I hear
Kwemi?
you.
Is that Paul or Kwemi? Or who?
Moise.
Muiz, are you tired? You sound tired.
Ah. Not as
You're not tired. You sound tired. All right. So in just 1 minute, can we just share what we picked from today's class so we can end the class? This is past 7 already. I'm sorry I didn't join in on time today because of the whole network issue. All right. Paul, do you want to go first? Is Adeyemi still on the call?
Yes, she
Yes, I'm
is.
still here.
All right. So can you just
Yeah, I'm
share in
here.
1 minute what you picked from today's class?
All right. Today we started by reviewing what we did the last time, and then we went on to talk about partition by, how to write query for partition by, and then you showed us how to export results using the tool from the tool menu bar to query results, then the process. Also,
Okay.
you mentioned about the ifs and the statements and joins, the usefulness of joins. We have different type of joins. You mentioned that the left join returns all records in the left and the match the one that relates in the right. The same thing relates with the right join. We also have the inner join that returns the common ID between both tables. And we have the full outer join that returns everything both on the combining both the informations in the right and the left. And then you also walked us through the use of union, the union operator and the union, or you mentioned that for us to make use of the union operator, the order of the data type must be in the right order, must have the same data type, must also have the same column structure, and
Mhm.
also have the same order of fields.
Okay.
Okay, you mentioned talking about is null and then is not null.
All
You
right.
mentioned
Thank
the
you.
functions on SQL, the right, the left, the len.
All right.
Let me
You've
allow
said
another
almost
person to talk
everything.
about.
You've said almost everything. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Paul, just share the
Yeah.
remaining ones. Yeah, I said everything, but just wrap everything up. Paul, can you hear me? Is Paul there with us? Okay, so I guess Paul is not here. So Moise, you want to share? Can you wrap up what with all that we've done? I mean, Adiyemi has said almost everything. Maybe you want to chip in something and we end the class. Okay.
okay.
All right. All
Uh,
right.
I think we discussed about some queries.
Okay. All right. So
Mm,
thank you
I
very
think that's all that.
yeah. Don't worry. Next week we'll look at subquery. One more example on on CTA. I mean, then we'll work on a project and I'll show you how to document your work on GitHub. So thank you everybody for joining again tonight. Thank you. I know it's not easy. It's as I know people are stressed out and I mean some of us have work to do and everything.
Sincerely.
Thank you so much for joining tonight. I'm so sorry. I should have done it. I mean, tomorrow or Saturday, but I also have class fixed that I have to be there to take those classes. So thank you so much for joining me tonight, everybody. Meet again in our next class, which is coming up on Sunday.
Sunday.
Yes, thank you very much. All right, see you all on Sunday
Thank you
by
very
5
much.
p.m. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank
All
you
right,
very much for your
bye
time.
bye, Usman. Bye, Paul.